Hey kids, here's a tip. Never mix lithium with SSRI drugs because bad things are gonna happen to you. And as it turns out, that's exactly what I did. I mixed lithium carbonate with Vibrid, and this is my experience. So I think I'm just gonna tell this story from the beginning to end. I am taking psychology in school, and we learned about SSRI drugs in a class of mine. And I was prescribed SSRIs when I was a teenager, and I was curious what they did, because they're supposed to reduce the trait neuroticism. And I just thought that was interesting. I thought it'd be interesting just to see what would happen if I took a starting dose of an SSRI. Now, I'm also taking lithium carbonate because I've got some elevated and depressed mood swing. You know how it is, bipolar. And I took this drug, Vibrid, and it was interesting, to say the least. So what happened was I was playing a game called League of Legends, and I was kicking ass. I was winning all of my games, and I was in such a good mood. And then I get done playing, and I go downstairs to turn down the thermostat. And lo and behold, I find myself just pacing around, just manic as fuck, like, oh, I'm invincible. Now, thankfully, I was having those thoughts. I didn't actually think I was invincible, and I wasn't about to do anything crazy. But when I started having a little bit of remission of mania, that's when I knew that something was wrong. And so I went back upstairs, and I go to bed. I sleep for about 3 hours, and I wake up, and I'm sweating all over. Or at least that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm sweating. But when I actually go to rub my forehead and skin, there's no sweat. I'm just perceiving that I'm sweating, even though I'm not actually sweating. And that's when I realized, you know what? Something is wrong. Something is terribly wrong. And I'm twitching as hell. I'm like kicking my, well, not kicking my feet. I'm like a little bit like Tourette syndrome. I just can't stop these like convulsions. And I'm just energized, and I'm just awake. And I look up what the side effects of Vibrid are. And I read that you're not supposed to take it with lithium because lithium somehow increases the mechanism of Vibrid. I'm not exactly sure how, so don't quote me on this. And I looked up the symptoms of serotonin syndrome. The sweating, diarrhea, heartbeat. There were some more fancy medical terms, but stuff like convulsion and tremors. And I knew that I was experiencing something similar to this. And I knew that since this was kind of increasing, it was kind of, I guess, from your perspective, it was kind of increasing like this. I didn't know when it was going to peak. I didn't know when these symptoms were going to end, but all I knew was that serotonin syndrome can kill you. And I was having something similar to that. So I go to the hospital. And thankfully, I didn't actually have serotonin syndrome. I just had some sort of precursor to that. Like what you have when if I was to have taken maybe more of it, then I would have had serotonin syndrome. But, and so those were the bad effects. Now, what I didn't expect from all of this is that there would actually be some euphoric-like things going on. And that is pretty damn interesting. When I was getting ready to go to the hospital, I put on, it was just a plain white t-shirt. I put on a plain white t-shirt, and it felt like the damn t-shirt was giving me a hug. That's what it felt like. It was like I was, oh yeah. It was weird. I guess that impression was probably maybe a little creepy. I apologize for that. But it was a good feeling. And so I just sat there for like a minute before going to the hospital, experiencing euphoria. It was like just the soft cotton. It felt so warm on my skin and nice and soft and comfy. And that was something else. Yeah. And so that that was nice, but it actually just reinforced my perception that I was tripping balls, something wasn't right, and I just needed to figure out what was going on. So I go to the hospital. Nothing happens. I'm going to get a huge bill. I'm not happy about that. And they send me home. I'm nauseous as fuck. My stomach is cramping. My entire intestinal system is like a bunch of war drums beating right before this huge battle. My stomach is like doing somersaults. It's like a freaking circus. It was ridiculous. Because it wasn't just the stomach cramps. It wasn't just the nausea. It was that my stomach was just moving in a way that it never moved before. It was just like... that's my impression. I hope you enjoyed that. So... and I'm still a little bit under the influence of this. Thankfully, I don't have any of those symptoms anymore, but I still can feel a little bit of it. It's not too bad. What I didn't expect was I get home from the hospital. Obviously, I still can't sleep. I'm still wired. I'm still energetic. I'm ready to go. Maybe even like slightly, like maybe hypomanic. And so I get home and I just start watching YouTube. I start watching Key and Peele. And let me tell you, Key and Peele has never been funnier. I was just enjoying my ass off that night. One of the I don't know, I was just happy. And I know it wasn't just mania. I know it wasn't that because I've had mania before. Maybe it was a little bit of hypomania plus something else, but it wasn't just mania. I remember it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. I still can't sleep. I'm like exhausted, but I'm just feeling like, life is just, I like life. Life is okay. I'm okay with life, Everything's good. Everything's Gucci. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to watch my Key and Peele. Everything's fine. Everything's all good. And so that aspect, and so now I'm convinced that SSRIs actually do what they say. They're not just like these placebos. And to be fair, to be fair, it's not just that I took I did take a small dose of the Vibrant, but it was the interaction with the lithium that really set it off. And so just taking an SSRI may not give you that effect. You have to do something that might kill you, which is take it with lithium, maybe to have and then you have to have my unique psyche to have so it was something about my own unique psyche, maybe something to do with bipolar, plus the lithium Vibrant combination that it was pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie, but also dangerous and not worth it because, first of all, if I would have taken the wrong dose, if I would have taken 20 milligrams instead of 10 milligrams of Viprid, then I probably would have had serotonin syndrome, and then I probably might have died. So yeah, definitely not. And I still am gonna get this enormous bill from the hospital, and I'm worried as hell that Medicaid isn't going to pay for it. And I'm also feel guilty as hell that I'm actually just taking from the funds of Medicaid just so they can pay for my own idiocracy, just because I was being an impulsive idiot. Because the whole reason I took Vibrant, I was like, I'll just try it out. It'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? Well, that's the worst that could happen. Okay. Yeah, very embarrassing. I feel a bit of a fool, but anyways, that's my story. I'll see you on the other side. I don't know what the fuck that means. And I just sweared. So YouTube may not promote this video. So, bye!